Last few weeks of his precious life here on earth, and I bring to you greetings today from Cross Creek High School. And I want you to know that we were so honored to have for you to have allowed us to become a part of his life. A sign once hung in my grandmother's kitchen when I was a child, and it simply said, "You're only a visitor in our home once." And that is how we want everyone to feel when they come in to Cross Creek High School. That they are a part of our family and a part of what matters most to us. I'm honored today to see students here, to see administrators and guidance counselors who are able to be a part of Byron's life. But I stand here with great humility that I was chosen to speak. And as I speak today, it's not just from Cross Creek, but I'm sure it's for all the teachers that I've met this morning who were able to share in the life of Byron McIntosh. He entered my life just a few weeks ago, and as he came into my life, I just sensed there was something different about him. He walked into my room so proudly, and he looked all around and he said, "Where do I sit?" And I simply said, "Sir, this is a time you choose where you would like to sit." And he found a place, and I really and truly believe that he was home. Richmond County recently developed some new words that have guided the relationships that we have in our classrooms. And those words are rigor, relevance, and relationships. As I heard those words, I thought, oh no, another concept that is going to be here for a little while and then it's going to go away. But you know, as I thought about those relationships, I thought those words, I realized that one key word there, relationships. And if as an educator, if as an administrator, a counselor, or whomever this child may, or any child will come in contact with, if I or that person cannot develop that relationship, then we will never see that person become all that we know that person has the capability of becoming. I'm always reminded of how important education is. But when I spoke to this precious family and I heard them say, Byron loved Cross Creek High School. It wasn't because he loved me as a teacher necessarily, or because he loved any one person. But he was at a place in his life where he was no longer judged. He was no longer made to feel insignificant in a world. But he was at a place where he knew there was caring, sensitive people who wanted to see him rise to the utmost. You know, one day he asked me, and he asked his guidance counselor, Ms. Cummings, the same thing. He said, he called me fat man. I'm going to go ahead and tell you that, because most of you know that by now. And he did ask permission if he could call me that. And I said, oh yeah, Byron. I said, you know, I have no problem with that. I said, but if I let slip out one day, short man, I don't want you to be offended. And he said, okay, Mr. J. He said, okay, fat man, that'll be all right. That's one for you. And I said, okay. But you know, I'm just so amazed that in such a short time that I was drawn so close to this young man. To be honest, I never really noticed his size. That's not important to me. It's not important when you bless me with the presence of your child, what that child is or what that child has been. To me, it's important, what can I do for that child? I think CeCe Winans best summed it up in her beautiful song, Alabaster Box, when she simply said, you do not know the cost of what I've gone through to find a new life with my Savior.
Wow.
And family, I don't know the cost that Byron McIntosh paid, but that was not my place to know that cost. It was not my place to judge him, to look at him any differently than I look at any other child. My job is to teach, and my job is to love, and my job is to foster that relationship with that child. One of my favorite sayings in life is not about waiting for the storm to pass. Life is about learning to dance in the rain. And I want you all to be comforted today in knowing Byron McIntosh knew how to dance in the rain. He never let his disabilities, what we may have seen as weaknesses, those became his areas of strength. I'm going to be very honest with you. I've been judged sometimes very unfairly in the field of education. I've had some judgments that were placed on me that probably many people would have become offended by. I've overheard some conversations of which I was the subject. But you know what? I realized very quickly, and excuse my English here, but it ain't about me.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
It ain't about me. It's about those children whose lives I have an opportunity to impact, such as the great Byron McIntosh. And where did I learn that? I learned that from the greatest teacher of them all. A man who didn't really have a classroom, but it was a man who sat upon a hillside one day, and he taught those in his presence that morning, "Blessed are those who are persecuted, for theirs is the kingdom of heaven." And folks, you will never know what a difference that has made in my life. But you know, I made a commitment many years ago. I did not always have the perfect educational career, and I've told my students a little bit of my life. I was fat just like I am today. I was always taller than everybody. I just didn't seem to fit in. But what made a difference in my life was that one teacher who broke through and found within me my inner strengths. And she developed me into what you see today. I'm just so amazed when I look around you today. And I know that tears are our natural way of expressing what we feel. And that's okay. But you know what? Byron's having a great time today. And he's not crying. He's smiling. And he's saying, look at all those people who came just for me, Byron McIntosh. And I'm sure his chest is proud. I only had to fuss at Byron one time. Only a few weeks, and it really wasn't fussing. It was a nice conversation. A young lady said, Mr. Jackson, will you please let me move groups away from Byron? And I said, what could Byron possibly be doing to you? He is the nicest kid, I think, one of the nicest I've ever met. She said, he just talks too much. And I called him out into the hallway. And I said, Byron, what's the deal? This young lady's saying you talk too much. He said, Mr. J, can I tell you a secret? And I said, okay. He said, I think she likes me. he said, I think she likes me. You know, I have that effect on people. But you know, sometimes, and I know I've probably gone too long, but sometimes I've questioned why I teach when there are so many other things I could do. But it's days like today that I know why I've chosen to teach. It's days like the time I was asked to walk a young lady down the aisle at her own wedding because she said, you've been more of a father figure to me than anyone in my life. Teachers sometimes want to say we want to win awards, and those are nice. But you know what? My awards come daily to me in teaching. Knowing that a child has learned something, knowing that I've made a difference, that is all that matters in my life anymore. We've currently been reading a wonderful nonfiction piece. It's a memoir entitled Night. And I know some of my students here are going, don't teach me about night today. That's not what I'm here for. And that's not what I'm going to do. But in this piece, the author so clearly used poetry to tell us some of the things that he would never forget. And I want to share with you today my memories of Byron McIntosh. Never shall we forget that young boy who was short in stature, but yet so tall in character. Never shall we forget the young boy who made a difference in the lives of everyone he met. And never shall we forget the young boy whose smile could light up the world. And never shall we forget the young boy who's on the last day that we saw him step proudly into our room in his double-breasted dark suit and his burgundy tie. And even when one of our students said, Mr. J, he's got on a clip-on tie. We don't wear clip-ons. And before I could even respond, he said, short men do. And I said, Byron, you're one of a kind. And never shall I forget the young boy who reminded me especially of just what is most important in this world. Learning to laugh. Learning to make a difference everywhere you go. As I spoke to his family, I learned how much he really did love Cross Creek. And he loved ROTC. And you know, gentlemen, I commend you for what you did. You're making a difference in the lives of these young men. You're teaching them things that are so important. And his guardian said the day he brought that uniform home, he was so excited. He said, I got my uniform. And she said, I looked at him and she said, before I even thought, she said, oh Lord, I bet I have to cut half the pants off for you. And ROTC, you made a difference because he said, oh no, they're perfect just for me. Family, as you grieve, I want you to know, I will never forget Byron McIntosh. And thank you for allowing me to become a part of his life. And I thank my guidance counselor who placed him in my classroom. I question the placement of children sometimes. I say, why do I get so many and so many that have different things? And she just kindly smiled at me the other day and said, I think you know. She said, you've never come to me one time and said, you gotta pull them out. I'm honored to have been his teacher. And his memory will go on with me forever. And I will forget, never forget, a wonderful young man who has reminded me just what is really important. Thank you, and God bless.